Hey there, movie fans! Welcome to a brand new episode of FYC. We are closing in on the big day, March 27th, for the Academy Awards. I'm joined as usual, as always, here on FYC by the amazing Perri Nemiroff and the mighty Jeff Snyder. We had a very, very busy weekend. In fact, a very busy week with so many different award shows. We're going to take a look at how the outcome of those award shows may or may not affect the outcome of the Academy Awards. Let's start with a big one. The Directors Guild chose Jane Campion for Best Director, their big winner, all but 7 times since 1949. The winner of the Directors Guild Award went on to win Best Director at the Academy Awards, including last year with Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. I think obviously that's going to happen this year. Also worth noting at the Directors Guild, first time feature, that award went to Maggie Gyllenhaal for The Lost Daughter. And documentary went to not Summer of Soul, but for Stanley Nelson for Atticus. So very interesting because, first of all, the Spirit Awards usually happen the day before the Academy Awards. So whatever outcome happens at the Spirit Awards, it is way too late for that to impact or influence Academy voters because the polls have long since closed. But because the Spirit Awards happened 2 weeks before the Academy Awards and a week and a half before polls closed, the outcome of the Spirit Awards may just have a little bit of an impact or an influence because The Lost Daughter, not only did it get first-time feature at the DGA for Maggie Gyllenhaal, but Maggie Gyllenhaal won Best Director, Best Screenplay, and The Lost Daughter won Best Feature at the Spirit Awards. Now, in the case of Maggie Gyllenhaal, how do you think those wins at the Spirit Awards and the Directors Guild, Perri, let's start with you. How will that affect her chances to win the Screenplay Award at the Academy Awards?
I think she has a real chance to win it. Also because in Best Adapted Screenplay, currently my number 1 is The Power of the Dog, and I don't know, maybe that is where we see the repercussions of Jane Campion's comments creep in, and maybe she doesn't win as many awards as many had suspected, and especially with The Lost Daughter stock rising from all that positivity this past
Exactly.
weekend, that could be a real chance there. As far as documentary goes, I have a really hard time not rooting for Flea and like standing by my prediction that no matter what happened elsewhere, I'm still keeping that in my number 1 spot. I feel like you can't forget the fact that that movie just had like an all-time record in terms of getting the best animated nomination, documentary, and then also international feature. And I feel like no matter what happened, that one's not falling out of that top spot.
It's not. It's definitely a major contender, Flea there. But Jeff, what is your take on the Maggie Gyllenhaal wave that's
Well,
happening here?
she wasn't competing against Coda, right?
And actually, for at the Spirit Awards,
Yeah.
no, she was not competing against Coda.
Yeah, I don't really see Maggie Gyllenhaal winning an Oscar for adapted screenplay over Coda. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll get to adapted screenplay. We can address it more there. But let's move on to the Ace Eddie Awards. These are the editing awards, the 72nd Ace Eddie Awards, where Best Edited Feature Dramatic went to Pamela Martin for King Richard, and she is nominated for an Oscar. How do you think the Ace Eddie will affect, Jeff, the editing award at the Oscars?
That's a good question. I mean, I thought King Richard is the second best of the Best Picture nominees behind Coda, and even though it was about 2 hours and 20 minutes, maybe a little bit over that, it never really felt long to me, which is always just like the maybe the generic editing thing feels like, did this movie feel too long? That's how I base my editing vote on it. So I think that it bolsters her chances. I think it can only be seen as a good thing for King Richard, and that movie needed a little bit of momentum. I think at the Ace Eddie win gave it that.
Well, what do you think, Perri, about Ace Eddie affecting the Oscars in the case of King Richard?
I don't know what to make of any of the precursors anymore because I feel like none of it matters. Like
They don't.
it just scrambles my brain, and I feel like when the nominations rolled in for the Academy Awards, it kind of just proved that things are especially all over the place this year. But as I always say, I do think wins like this make a movie, move to the forefront more than it might have been. So I think it definitely boosted King Richard's chances. And I was happy to see the best edited feature film in comedy go to Tick Tick Boom. I mean,
Yep.
that's one that I've been championing in so many categories that it didn't get nominated for. So to see it get a little love here and maybe boost its chances at the Oscars makes me pretty happy. But I don't know. This is like a pretty stacked category. Like I still think Dune and The Power of the Dog have a really good shot at winning. I was rewatching Power of the Dog, and like when you look at the combination of cinematography and editing in that movie paired with Cody Smith McPhee's performance in particular, and just how expertly that particular character's arc and what he's up to in that movie is crafted all the way through. I mean, that's just as much of a technical feat as it is performance and script.
Absolutely, it is, and you're right to point out that the precursors, in this case for the Ace Eddies, I'm not sure how much that makes a difference because in only 4 of the last 10 years, only 4, that's less than half, the winner for Best Edited Dramatic Feature, which in this case went to King Richard, went on to win the Oscar for Best Editing. But I still think that King Richard actually has a really, really good shot. Like Perri pointed out, Best Edited Feature Film Comedy went to Tick Tick Boom. Best Edited Animated Feature went to Encanto. Best Edited Documentary Feature went to Summer of Soul. And I just have to point out, Best Edited Non-Theatrical Documentary did go to the Beatles' Get Back because, as you know, I am obsessed with the Beatles, so I absolutely had to point that out. Let's move on to how we had a very busy weekend, especially on Sunday, with the BAFTAs and the Critics' Choice Awards happening on the same day. You had nominees for both of those award shows in London and Los Angeles. So the question is, let's start with international feature where Drive My Car won the award, the BAFTA and the Critics' Choice Award. I think if there's a lock in these 23 Oscar categories, international feature, Jeff, is one of them for Drive My Car, right? No?
Okay.
I don't think it's a lock. I think Worst Person in the World, could definitely pull it out. I mean, that's just a movie I think most people, really enjoyed and feel passionate about, and it has a screenwriting nomination and probably could have gotten 2 acting nominations. Like if they had, if the Academy had any taste at all, they probably would have nominated 2 of those performers. So I don't think it's a lock. No.
Perri, do you think it's a lock?
It is definitely staying in my number one spot. I mean, that's why I was busy blabbing about Flea when I brought up Best Documentary, because I don't think it really has a chance in international feature or in animation. So I'm rooting for it there. But when it comes to international feature, I could see how number 2 might be the Worst Person in the World. But when you look at what else Drive My Car has achieved this Oscar season, I feel like that right there is enough support behind it already to confirm to me that it really is a lot. And it's not going to win. It's not going to win Best Picture and Best Director. So I do have a feeling that it's going to wind up getting a lot of votes put towards it in this particular category, basically cementing a win that I've been thinking about since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of documentary feature, we talked about how Stanley Nelson won the Directors Guild for documentary for Attica. And Perri, I know you were high on Flea for
Yeah.
Best Documentary Feature, but Summer of Soul did win the Critics' Choice Award and the BAFTA Award for Best Documentary Feature. So Jeff, the question is, how does that affect the Oscars? Does Flea still have a very good chance? Does Attica have a chance to come in, or is it going to Summer of Soul? What do you think?
I don't think it's going to Summer of Soul just because I always thought of Summer of Soul as a feat of editing. I don't really see how that merits an Oscar personally. Yeah, I think that Flea has a very strong chance, and now Attica is sort of the dark horse in this race. But it's a category I think people have just been giving to Summer of Soul, and I don't think that's a lock either.
Perri, I know how you feel. I know how you feel.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Flea. You don't not only get all of these Academy Award nominations and then don't win. But I mean, the second you watch a movie like that and see what they managed to accomplish with a different storytelling format. I mean, it's I mean, not that Summer of Soul is not this, by the way, but
Huh.
Flea is truly something that we've never seen before. And it is so expertly done. It is so heartfelt. It's so sincere. And if that movie doesn't move you by the end, like I don't understand. That movie was a big old wallop for me. And I feel like anybody who walks away from screening that in considering who to vote for, I feel like that's gonna stick in everyone's mind.
Well, listen, I agree with you completely. And if I'm voting with my heart, then I would say that Flea should take it for Best Documentary Feature. But I'm also just looking at the momentum that Summer of Soul does have. It did win the Spirit Award as well for Documentary Feature, in addition to the CCA and the BAFTA. And I just looking at the momentum and just seeing where this is going, I still think that Summer of Soul probably will win the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. I think that Flea should win the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. And I think it really is between those two films. I'm not sure if Attica has a chance for Documentary Feature, although I'm happy that it did win something with the DGA. But I think it's between Summer of Soul and Flea. It's going to be very interesting. And we're going to come back next week with our final predictions where we got to pick just one. So we'll have to see next week which one we actually zero in and pick for what we think will win, not deserves to win, but will win there. Moving on to Best Animated Feature. Hey, Perri, your favorite animated feature of the year, one of your favorite movies of the year, won Best Animated Feature at the Critics' Choice Awards, The Mitchells versus the Machines, where the BAFTA went to Encanto, which has been winning a lot of these other awards. So, Jeff, what do you think about Best Animated Feature? Is Encanto still a front runner, or does Mitchells versus Machines have a chance here?
I think Encanto is still the front runner, even though I do think Mitchell's versus the Machines is the better movie. I just thought Encanto was okay. I mean, but I can't imagine how many times these Academy members have heard the songs, with their kids playing the soundtrack over and over and over. And I don't think Mitchell's versus the Machines really has that extra element. Again, I still wouldn't count out Flea in this race,
Yeah.
but I'd probably put my money on Encanto right now.
Perri, where are you putting your money?
I mean, I love to bet and I like to be right. So I'm going with Encanto. And even though I love Mitchell's versus the Machines, again, it was my number 2 movie of last year, I still am not going to be mad if Encanto wins. It's an exceptional movie. I can't get the songs out of my head. My niece loves it. I get to watch it with her. And you can't ignore the fact that that movie became like an iconic piece of pop culture extremely quickly. And I feel like that's going to carry it through to the win.
I think just riding the wave and seeing where this is going, where animated feature is going, I feel like Encanto is the movie that will win. Mitchell's versus the Machines, I think, agree. I think it's kind of the better film here. But just if we're looking at predictions and what's winning, we're going to have to pick our final choice next week when we do our final predictions. So, but it definitely is obviously between Encanto, Mitchell's versus the Machines, leaning towards Encanto. We'll make our final choice next week. Moving on to Adapted Screenplay. I know we just talked about this. Jane Campion wins for Power of the Dog. The BAFTA award went to Sean Heder for Coda. And then, of course, the Spirit Award went to The Lost Daughter. We already covered this, but any more thoughts on Adapted Screenplay here?
Yes, this is a huge red flag for Power of the Dog. The fact that Coda beat it at the BAFTAs. Okay, because if Coda takes the screenplay, wins the screenplay Oscar, that could definitely forebode a Best Picture win on the horizon. I don't even see how these two screenplays are even close in terms of quality. I mean, so I was relieved that BAFTA recognized Coda, because I think that is a great script.
But do you think that now the question is, Jeff, how much of an overlap is there between the voting membership of the BAFTAs and the voting membership of the Academy Awards?
I mean, there's definitely some, more than a lot of these other precursors or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it enough? I mean, we don't know which segment of BAFTA there's overlap and how many people in that segment of overlap voted for Coda versus Power of the Dog. I mean, there's just no way to know these things. But I think the fact that Coda won a screenplay award at all indicates that there is love for it in that category.
So here's my question, Perri. For a movie to have the momentum to win an Academy Award, a win for either adapted screenplay or original screenplay is a big boost. And if Coda wins the adapted screenplay award for the Academy Awards, that does bode well for its chances to win Best Picture. It's already going to win supporting actor for Troy Kotsur. So for adapted screenplay here, do you think Coda really has a chance after the BAFTA win, or do you think it's, more power of the dog even after what happened with Jane Campion over the last couple of days? Or do you think that, Maggie Gyllenhaal, people are like gonna just sort of lean towards her because of all the attention she's getting? Maybe they haven't seen Lost Daughter, but they sure will now, and voting hasn't happened yet. So maybe it could be the Lost Daughter. It's between those three movies: Coda, Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog. Which one are you going with?
My answer might change with what happens with the remaining ceremonies, but at this point in time, and again, like I don't think the precursors add up in the same way they used to. I don't necessarily have the data to back this up. It is a feeling that I'm getting right now. I think the Academy is going to spread the love, and if I were to lock in predictions right now, I would give Best Adapted Screenplay to The Lost Daughter, I would give Director to Power of the Dog, and I would give Best Picture to Coda.
Wow, I love your choices. I love those choices. I'm
think
down.
it-
I'm
I
down with
really
that.
think it could happen.
I think it could happen too. Let's keep going with original screenplay, where the BAFTA went to Paul Thomas Anderson, finally winning a substantial award for original screenplay for Licorice Pizza. And then the Critics' Choice Award went to the favorite Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. And I feel like, between those two and all of the original screenplay nominations, which include King Richard, Don't Look Up, and Jeff's favorite, The Worst Person in the World, I still feel like the original screenplay Oscar will go to Belfast for Kenneth Branagh. Perri, you're nodding. Jeff, what do you think of that?
Sure. Okay. I guess they got to give Kenneth Branagh something, right? But yeah, I just thought Belfast was very mediocre. I really thought King Richard should be winning this award, but Zach Balan just does not have the same profile as some of his fellow nominees.
Perri, what do you think about original screenplay for
So
the
in
Oscars?
in this particular case, you know how I'm always like, well, if you win at a previous ceremony, it's great because you get a platform and you get to talk about your movie and it puts it more in the spotlight. In the case of Licorice Pizza, I think it hurts and doesn't help because the moment he won that award, a lot of issues with that screenplay resurfaced. And I know Twitter alone does not dictate who wins and who loses, but
Oh,
it
thank God.
it it plays a factor, and I think that in this particular case, Twitter is just basically a smaller example of the conversations happening on a wider scale. And I think, if anything, that BAFTA win is going to knock Licorice Pizza a little further down my list and boost Kenneth Branagh even more. And I think Branagh's winning it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it, like Jeff said, I'm more confident in supporting Jeff's assessment that Kenneth Branagh has to win something, and I think Belfast is what he will get. But don't count out Belfast for Best Picture. Let's move on to, well, if there is a lock at this point, I think it's supporting actor for Troy Kotsur. He won the BAFTA, he won the CCA, he won the Spirit Award. He's winning everything. I mean, is there anything threatening Troy Kotsur's chances to win supporting actor, Perri?
I mean, probably not. Again, as I've repeated, I wouldn't mind seeing Cody Smith-McPhee win. I really do think that is a next level performance he gives in
Agreed.
that film. But I am so incredibly happy for Troy Kotsur. And that's someone who's been making the most of the circuit from the day he won his first award. It's just like every time he gets up there to accept something, it just sends more good vibes out there. And I can't help but to be so happy for him, in addition for my genuine enthusiasm for his performance in that movie overall. I think he has it locked.
I agree completely. Jeff,
Lock it up. It's done.
Lock it up for Troy Kotzer and Coda for supporting actor. I completely agree. And by the way, everyone, make sure you check out Perri's interview with Cody Smith-McPhee right here on her channel. She did an FYC interview with the Oscar nominee, and it is a great interview. So when you're done watching this episode of FYC, make sure you click right on to Perri's interview with Cody Smith-McPhee. It is not to be missed. Let's move on to supporting actress. And well, what do you know? Another lock. Ariana DeBose wins the BAFTA award. She wins the Critics' Choice Award. And I think she will win the Academy Award here. Jeff, I know you're not high
It's
on
getting to be that point where I now have to look myself in the mirror and say, Ariana DeBose is probably going to win the Oscar. Listen, there's always surprises. And I'm hoping that there will be some surprises on Oscar night, just total left field stuff that we never saw coming. You know, I can see the headlines now about Ariana DeBose having won every precursor, but somehow the Oscars went for Kirsten Dunst.
Don't say it.
That can happen.
But it could definitely happen. But at this point, I suppose I will give in to the mob and switch my prediction.
What was that year where for The Mirror Has Two Faces, Lauren Bacall was like the favorite to win that award? I'm completely going off memory, but like everyone was like Lauren Bacall, and then Juliette Binoche won for something.
English Patient?
Was it The English Patient? Was it 96?
I don't know. Perri and I were like 12, so we don't know.
well, whoever knows that, make sure you comment on the comment section below, because I'm not exactly sure, but I remember that there was an upset with Lauren Bacall.
People get tired of awarding the same person with awards. That's just human nature. Just throwing that out there.
I was gonna point that out, because I even said it right before we started to record, and I usually don't get this. I mean, maybe I'm still recovering from Critics' Choice, but like I'm a little tired. I have to admit, it feels like this season, and I know we kind of do say this every year, and we said it a lot last year too, but this season has felt like a lot to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know.
Well, I
don't think it's happening in this category for the record, but I think it could happen elsewhere.
I think one of the reasons why it does feel like a lot is because, you know, we've had to like shift back and forth a few times between being in person to going back to the virtual thing to going in person again because of the pandemic, and then the Omicron variant sort of subsiding for it to be back in person again. And now we're back in person, and everyone's scrambling to salvage award season with in-person stuff. So I think that's a big part of where the exhaustion comes from. But Perri, my question for you is, even though it's looking like Ariana DeBose is a lock to win Best Supporting Actress, the other nominees here are Aunjanue Ellis, Kirsten Dunst, Jessie Buckley, and Judi Dench. If there is a disruptor in supporting actress, who do you think that disruptor will be? If it's an if.
I'll take the if. I don't think there will be one. If there is one, I'm actually going to go with Aunjanue Ellis.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Jeff, you agree with that too, right?
No, I'm still going to say if there's an upside that it's Kirsten Dunst, but I did, see on social media that it seemed like the largest applause in the room was it the Critics' Choice Awards was for Aunjanue Ellis.
I mean, there was a pretty significant applause for her.
I don't know. I saw a specific tweet saying that maybe it was from Greg Elwood, who said, "Watch out for Aunjanue Ellis."
All right, well, let's watch out for Aunjanue Ellis at the Oscars. We'll come back next week with our final predictions. Will it be Aunjanue, or I doubt it, but let's move on to Best Actor. Will Smith, it is his year. He's winning everything. Yeah. He wins the BAFTA. He wins the CCA. And I think this is another lock category here. Jeff, Will Smith, yes.
It's just a matter of Will Smith has put 30 years into this business.
Yeah.
And he's was our biggest movie star at one point. I don't know if he necessarily is anymore, but he has earned it. And Andrew Garfield is a fantastic actor, and I have no doubt that he will win an Oscar one day. But coming up against Will Smith, I think he's going to fall short.
Will Smith is a lock to me. I think if there is a disruptor in this category, it is definitely Andrew Garfield. I think just comparing apples to apples, I actually think that Andrew Garfield gave the better performance, but that's not to take anything away from Will Smith's performance. It is the performance of his career, and it is absolutely his year. Perri, get Will Smith. Are you in?
Yeah, Will Smith. Done deal. Not
All
changing
right.
it.
Not changing it either. Let's move on to Best Actress, which at one point, Kristen Stewart was the front runner, and then it became Nicole Kidman was the front runner, and then Olivia Colman was the front runner, and then at the SAG Awards and the Critics' Choice Awards, Jessica Chastain wins Best Actress for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Now, at the BAFTA Award, the Best Actress winner went to Joanna Scanlon for the movie called After Love, which is not nominated for an Academy Award. But I think that Jessica Chastain is going to win for Best Actress. I think this is her year. I think she deserves it, and she's definitely on this wave right now because she's been winning these other major awards. Perri, what's your take on Jessica Chastain?
I'm not going to deny the fact that Jessica Chastain appears to have the best shot at this point. I think all these wins have basically solidified that. But this particular category is the one where I am insisting on going with my heart, and I think Kristen Stewart will still win with a bit of an upset now. I still think it's going to happen.
You think Kristen Stewart is going to win the Academy Award?
I'm going to keep it
Ooh.
there. Yeah.
You're keeping it with Kristen Stewart. Very interesting.
I know.
Very
I'll fully admit I'm taking a big that is a big swing at this point, given everything that's happened, but I'm sticking with it.
Jeff?
I really have no idea what's going to happen with this category other than I just find it impossible to think that Jessica Chastain is going to win for this movie.
You think it's impossible that she's going to win?
I cannot imagine a scenario in which the Academy goes for that movie.
Why?
Because it was not a good movie.
That's not true. That's your opinion.
That's your opinion. I mean, it's I would say that it's a better liked movie overall than Spencer is. I like Spencer a lot, but Spencer was a far more polarizing film and than The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Who are these people who liked Tammy Faye a lot?
Wait a minute,
who are these people?
Jeff, I liked it. I thought it was great. I thought she was fantastic in it.
She was very good in it, but I don't know, man. I'm taking the field. Whether it's Stewart or Kidman or Cruz, I don't think Chastain's going to win.
Well, then who's winning? Who's
Nicole.
winning, Jeff? Call it.
Okay.
Nicole Kidman. You think Nicole Kidman is going to win?
Sure.
I don't think so. So you think Nicole Kidman? Perri says Kristen Stewart. I'm saying Jessica Chastain. We're not calling it now. We're going to call it when we do our final predictions in a week, and we're going to have to make one final prediction. That could be a very interesting conversation. But let's move along to Best Director. Like we said, I mean, there's no stopping Jane Campion at this point to win Best Director, which will make her the third woman to win the Oscar for Best Director, second in a row after Chloe Zhao last year for Nomadland. She won the BAFTA, the Critics' Choice, the DGA. It's a done deal, wouldn't you say, Perri?
I think it's done. I do think she is walking away with that.
Jeff?
Yeah. I mean, I think this has sort of been the case all along. No matter what she says, I don't think it's going to change that.
All right, let's move along to the big kahuna. The big kahuna, Best Picture, where the BAFTA Awards went to Power of the Dog, though Belfast won Best British Film, which is a small consolation there. And then the Critics' Choice Award also went to Power of the Dog. Now, Nomadland won Best Picture at the Oscars and the BAFTAs. That's actually the first time in 7 years that the BAFTAs and the Oscars agreed for Best Picture. So a lock, a win for BAFTA does not ensure a win at the Academy Awards. And look, I mean, the Critics' Choice a couple of years ago, they went with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Best Picture went to Parasite. So the question is, I think the Best Picture, it's down to 3 movies. Of course, Power of the Dog is one of them. I think Belfast still has a shot, and I think Coda has a shot. And it's because of this preferential balloting system. It's going to be really interesting to see what wins at the Producers Guild Awards this coming weekend, because the Producers Guild and the Academy both have a similar preferential balloting thing where you have to rank the winners. So what's winning the Oscar here, Jeff?
Coda's winning the Oscar. I mean, first of all, I don't know how Belfast has a shot. Belfast is not in the mix for Best Picture. King
Perri?
Richard or West Side Story would be the third film, or even Dune. Dune is ahead of Belfast, okay, because of the craft support. Belfast has nothing going for it, zero.
Well, it has the best original screenplay win, which it'll probably get going for it, and that is a big one.
King
Perri.
Richard has Will Smith and potentially an editing award, and I think
But
it was
Will
probably
Smith, a win for Will Smith is a win for King Richard. I mean, I just but I also think that the King Richard has a chance to win editing, so it's going to win a couple significant awards.
right,
Perri,
so, which is more than Belfast has. So I think King Richard has a way better chance to win Best Picture. And by the way, just to back up real quickly,
yeah.
Eyes of Tammy Faye 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, Spencer 83%. So Tammy Faye was definitely more polarizing than Spencer.
What are the audience scores?
Yeah,
on both
there you
of those
go.
movies?
The audience scores you're correct. Spencer has a 50% audience score, but so much of that, you know why that has a low audience score. I don't even need to justify that.
No, the audience score, you can't, like, critics are not Academy voters. They're not.
Neither
Perri,
are audiences.
Perri,
good
what's
thing
Best
the
Picture?
Joe Schmo out there isn't voting for the
Hold that thought, Jeff. Perri, what's your take on Best Picture?
I think it's going to Coda. I think it is very easy to imagine that movie being closer to the large majority's favorite than a lot of these other titles here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the PGA award, though, because I do not think that Coda is going to win that. I don't necessarily think that movie. I don't necessarily think that movie is going to be looked at in that sense. I think something else is going to win it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe even West Side Story could wind up shaking things up and taking that PGA win.
Oh man, that would be something. That would be something. Well,
I think it really could happen.
I think Dune could win.
Dune
the
also.
PGA.
You're right.
I just okay, so Coda doesn't win the PGA because it was thrown into like 2 theaters and made $1 million when they bought it for 25. Like, okay, that doesn't really reflect well on paper, but that doesn't really speak to the way that this movie is making people feel.
I definitely think, though, that this is a year where if it doesn't win the PGA award, it does not mean I'm going to write off Coda in any sense. Like, Coda, in my eyes, its chances to win Best Picture will not change no matter who takes the PGA award. I mean, if it happens to win it, then I'm going to be fairly certain that it's going to win Best Picture, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
All right, so here's the thing. First of all, it is definitely down, I think, to 3 movies here for Best Picture. Power of the Dog. I mean, it's such a massive front runner because of everything. And then, of course, Coda, which, I'm just going to say right now, I think Coda will win. I'm with both of you. I think it's great that the 3 of us actually agree that we think that Coda will win Best Picture. I feel like it's a feel-good movie, and after all the doom and gloom and everything, I think people want to reward a film that is a feel-good film, and it's just an excellent film in its own right. But here's the thing. So Belfast is also a front runner. I don't think it's as much of a front runner as it was a couple months ago, but I still think it is absolutely in contention. Is still very, very much has a very big chance. And here's why. I don't know if Academy voters, all 9,500-ish of them, are still ready to give the Academy Award for Best Picture to a streaming service. And I think that will hurt the chances of, I just don't know.
Dude, this is the reality we are living in, Scott Manson. It is streamer central these days.
I know it is.
They pay the bill for everyone in town.
I know. I agree with you, but I just don't. I feel like there might be still just some apprehension, still some pause to give the biggest prize of the Academy Awards, the 94th Academy Awards, to a streaming service, whether it's Netflix for Power of the Dog or Apple for Coda. And that could hurt both of them. But regardless, because of the preferential thing, those 3 movies are the ones. I mean, yeah, sure. I agree. It could go to West Side Story. It could go to King Richard.
You think Belfast is number 3?
Yeah, 2 or 3, maybe. Yeah.
Just because it wasn't on a streamer. Like, what about Dune or King Richard? I know that those were HBO Max day and dates, but those are Warner Brothers.
Like I said, King Richard wins for Best Actor and probably for editing, and Dune's going to win so many of those crafts categories. So I think it's good there. And I think that Dune 2 or Dune, Part 2 will have a much better chance of winning Best Picture and even getting a Best Director nom for Denis Villeneuve. But of course, we have to make sure that the movie is actually good when it's done. But it is not a lock. The Best Picture is not a lock. I think, just like both of you, I think that Coda will win Best Picture. But I still think that there are other factors in play with regards to Best Picture that could prevent it from happening. But I'm still going with Coda for the win.
Okay.
I think that the streamer conversation is such old news, man.
I
That
don't.
is that
I
is a thing
don't.
of the past. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people out there didn't even know the difference between a theatrical and streaming release with this slate of films, especially given how they were released during a pandemic year. But also, you could also factor in the idea of, something like Coda or Power of the Dog was much easier to watch if you subscribe to one of these streaming services where maybe you had to go out and, schlep somewhere to watch Belfast or, I admittedly do this sometimes and I try not to be this lazy, but sometimes it's just easier to open Netflix and push play than it is to plug in my DVD player, which doesn't even
Sure.
work anymore, and then pop in a DVD.
Look,
Listen,
I have every Star Trek series that's available on Blu-ray and DVD, but I still go to Paramount Plus to watch it because it's just so much easier than opening my case and putting the DVD, waiting forever for the Blu-ray to upload because it takes longer for the Blu-rays. But listen, regardless,
the Academy
here's
has
the
a
thing.
streaming site, Mance.
Jeff, you have pointed out many times that the Academy voters are still older, even though the membership has more than doubled in the last few years. And there's a lot more gender balance. There's a lot more diversity. It's a lot more younger people, but it is still primarily older
Old white.
people. And those older people, if there are enough of them, then they could see, like, no, Best Picture needs to go to a movie, not a streamer. That could be a problem. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying that it could be a problem. Again, I'm still putting my money down on Coda, just like both of you.
The other
I
thing,
want Coda to win. I think it will win.
the other thing is the Power of the Dog was made by a streamer, right?
No, it wasn't. Oh wait, yes, it was. Yes,
Yes,
it was.
it was.
Power of the Dog was made by a
And
streamer.
it wasn't made by a streamer.
Coda. Coda was a movie that was picked up by a streamer during a pandemic because it wasn't able to be seen at Eccles on opening night at Sundance, which was a crying shame. So again, just so there is no misunderstanding here, I want Coda to win. I think it will win. I'm just throwing some factors in that could disrupt the game. Some factors in that could disrupt the game. If Coda and Power of the Dog do not win and Belfast does win, then you know why. But regardless, even though we are picking Coda here right now, we are still going to come back in a week with our final predictions. We're going to do a live show next Wednesday. But before that, on Monday, we're going to come back and we're going to look at how the Producers Guild panned out, how that will affect the Oscars. Also looking at the Writers Guild Awards. Those are also happening this weekend. So we're going to come back on Monday with a new show looking at the Producers Guild winners and the Writers Guild winners. And then we're going to come back on Wednesday with a live show doing our final Oscar predictions before the actual Academy Awards on March 27th. So make sure you share this episode of FYC on your social media platforms. Make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think of this show. And also, if you think that there might be a problem with a streamer winning Best Picture, or you think it's just a non-issue, make sure you follow all of us on social media and spread the word about FYC. Big thanks, as always, to Perri Nemiroff for saving FYC Season 4, putting it on her channel. Make sure you watch Perri's interview, her FYC interview with Academy Award nominee Cody Smith-McPhee. Make sure you come back to these next 2 episodes of FYC. Until then, FY, see you later.